the vital role that campaigns and elections play in the battle of ideas. We'll explore that and more on today's edition of Life Matters. Brian Johnston is the Western Director of the National Right to Life Committee. He has served in many capacities while advocating for innocent lives, as California Commissioner on Aging, as Chairman of the California Pro-Life Council, on the board of the National Legal Center for the Medically Dependent and Disabled. And now here's our host, Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters. We're your program on the right to life, on what it really is, on what you can do about it, how you can make a difference right where you are. Many people have told me they're pro-life, and they wait to find out what's going to happen next. Yes, things are going to happen, but I have to tell you something. I have traveled all over the world, meeting people in the right to life movement, meeting folks who are fighting to end abortion, to end intentional medical killing of other human beings as well. The euthanasia of the elderly and sick is very common in some countries. It's becoming very common here. But the way to address it is our number one question. We're going to talk about today what you can do where you are. There are things to be done right where you are, and in particular, in an election year, it's up to you to determine who are these people running for office. We're going to show you how to do that. We're going to equip you with the tools that you can use in your local community. Our program, Life Matters, is actually heard across the nation, but we focus in California. Our goal is to help pro-life individuals that haven't yet put their hand to the plow, that haven't yet made an effort to change things. They've changed their perspective. They've learned about the debate and what's really at stake. They care deeply about the fact that the law is not protecting the vulnerable innocent, those that can't protect themselves. So they're concerned. We want to equip you to take proper action that will have an ongoing benefit for your society and not just complaining. So we're picking up on that. You are the local pro-life movement. There are other episodes, if you listen to Life Matters, where this has been touched on. Back in episode 222, we talk about the legal implications and how you can get involved in local elections. In 220, we talk about the sanctuary movement, and in California, the safe baby haven, that each community can be the resolution to make your community a safe baby haven. That's episode 220. In episode 205, it's called Do More Than Walk. And what that's a reference to is a lot of people, they want to protest, they want to make a public statement about the pro-life issue, and that's good. That's great to stand up for life, but we're not here just to make a statement. I'll be honest with you, we've got to commit to make a difference. And we're going to talk about that today, how you can make a difference in your community, literally change your community, change the leadership of your community, how they view abortion, how they view the taking of innocent life. You can impact that. Back in episode 99, there's an interview with Lawrence Lair. He talks about how a local right to life chapter works on the county level. That's how we're set up. The National Right to Life Committee is made up of affiliates in each and every state, and you may be in another state than California. Go to nrlc.org, and you can see the affiliates of the National Right to Life Committee. I suggest you plug in with your local and state affiliates. It's the local chapter that actually impacts that community. And there's many ways to do that. Most local chapters have speaker bureaus because, Planned Parenthood, they have speakers that go out and speak in schools and speak in different public venues. If that happens in your community, you need to say, hey, well, you need to have someone with the other perspective. There needs to be equal time in this schoolroom. And so that's what a Right to Life chapter provides, is the real answers on this issue, why we're upset. We explain, we have to give the reasons that we're upset. We're not just here to ventilate our emotions, but to explain why this is such an important issue, the protecting of the innocent. So you can get involved locally in doing that. We're going to talk today, though, about 2022 as an election cycle. As you know, elections come every 2 years, and it's a great opportunity for you to impact your local community. As I mentioned, I have been in most of the several states and worked with the pro-life organization in those states. As you know, there are some states that are very pro-life. My impression is that the states that are pro-life become that way because local pro-lifers have not pulled into their shell. They actually are involved in their community. They're involved in the civic process. And that's very important. If you want to impact your community, then you need to be involved. People in your community need to hear more about this issue. They need to understand because ABC, NBC, PBS, usually the dominant newspapers, they have an angle. They have a slant that doesn't explain your pro-life position. So you need to go out and influence your community with that. Speaking in churches, making sure that churches are pro-life. Some churches are afraid to mention it. They're afraid. They think pro-lifers aren't really very polite or very involved in society. But you're the most concerned about society. So study to show yourself approved. Study what's at stake and how to impact your culture. Many towns and cities have been impacted at the school board level, at the city council level, and that changes the culture of that town. That's what changes things. And I want to remind you, you're going to hear about congressional races and Senate races this year, and so the media will pound that into your head. But you won't hear much about your local city council races or your local school board races. But that's where all politics is most important. There's an old saying, all politics is local. If you care enough to get involved locally, you will change your community. If you're concerned about Congress and Senate, you should be. But most of those people, even that go to your state house, to the state assembly or the state senate, before they go to Washington, they climb a ladder, a political ladder. So they learn the process at the city level, at the school board level. They learn how meetings work. They learn Robert's Rules of Order. They learn to be polite with people that they disagree with and still make their point. It's very important. If you see your community changing at that level, that's how your state changes. Because those city council members will afterwards, next cycle, perhaps run for the state legislature. That's how things really work, but you have to be willing to work locally for the good guys. And we're going to talk about how to determine who they are. When we come back, I'll tell you some scary stories, but I'll explain to you why it doesn't have to be scary. What's scary is if you refuse to learn and then just complain. We're not here to complain. We're here to make a difference. We want to show you how. We're going to equip you how. Whether you're in California or anywhere else in the nation, the tools are there to get this job done. You just have to be willing to use those tools. We'll be right back after this.
Life Matters continues after this.
Are you willing to step up to be a lifeguard? We're asking you to consider becoming a Life Matters lifeguard. On Life Matters, we cut to the depths of this cultural battle of ideas that has robbed America of its core values and robbed the innocent of their right to life. Anything you can pledge is appreciated. But if you pledge $19 a month, we will make you part of the Life Matters lifeguard team, getting you the important tools and dynamic information to help save lives and encourage others in understanding the lurking dangers in today's deadly cross currents of culture. Your pledge helps us with our costs of broadcast. It keeps the full understanding of the right to life going out over our numerous radio stations and also facilitates the important podcast that carries even more programming. Please go to the front page of the Life Matters website and click on the donate button. Your donation is deeply appreciated.
And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters. We're talking about elections. We're talking about the pro-life issue. On Life Matters, we talk about the pro-life issue in great detail and great specificity. We want to bring clarity to this issue. A lot of people want to bring heat. I get it. I understand. I'm Irish. I have emotions. But it isn't our emotions that make the difference. If you're standing on the side of truth, you need to be able to be eloquent on behalf of that truth. You need to be able to explain why that baby is a wanted child. You know, the motto for Planned Parenthood is every child a wanted child. Well, that's the case right now. There are couples that are waiting years to adopt a baby, but they can't because Planned Parenthood is encouraging abortion and discouraging adoption. And many government agencies have joined into that attitude. So that child is a wanted child. There are couples that will adopt children of any race, by the way. You need to know that. But sometimes the government bureaucrats don't want mixed race adoptions. I've seen that happen here in California, where they won't let a black child go to a non-black couple. And that's the government preventing that. And yet Planned Parenthood will target and abort black children. But those children are wanted. Even if the mother at that moment doesn't want the child, that is a wanted child. So these facts are on our side. People are not a problem. Policies are the problem. So when you get involved in understanding your local politics, when you get involved in changing local politics, that's how your regional and state politics change. So we're going to talk about that today. And what happens every election year, to be honest, I've been doing this for a long time. Our headquarters are in Sacramento. And routinely in election years, as the week of election time comes, we would get snowed with phone calls. Hey, I don't know who to vote for. Who should I vote for? And they look at their ballot, and if they're in Pomona, if they're in San Diego, I'm not in a position to know who's running for school board or city council. Our local folks need to track down who the good candidates are. And that's what we're going to focus on today. How is that done? It takes a little work, but not a lot. There are people that have done this, but we need volunteers locally that don't wait to the last minute to be told what to do. We want to show and give you the tools so that you can do what should be done. And that is to determine beforehand which candidates are pro-life and should be elected. You've seen this story. A lot of people find out the school board has made a really evil decision about the kids. They let in Planned Parenthood with a sex clinic on campus. Well, you know, that has happened. And part of it is that those school board members are being educated by the LA Times, the San Diego Union Tribune, ABC, PBS, CBS. They don't have the background as to what Planned Parenthood does. Let me tell you this, Planned Parenthood offers them goodies. They come to the school board. We want to help your children because they can't focus. And if they're so obsessed with sex and we want to answer their questions, we're going to relieve you of all of that tension by taking these pressures off of your teachers. And then the kids can get educated. Well, that's bunk, because what they actually do is they ask for a classroom R2 in the school, and they ask the school board to give that to them for these health clinics. Because, often these kids can't get to doctors. The parents don't take them to doctors, so it's generic health. But as you know, they focus on sexual health. And more importantly, they focus on their goals. Once that's established, in a school district, on a campus, did you know the parents are not allowed to know what goes on in those new classrooms? Even employees of the school district are not allowed to know. the principal of that campus is prohibited from even asking what takes place, what is said, what is distributed in those facilities because of privacy. You know, you have to protect those kids and their privacy. Really, what you're doing is you're protecting this third party outside agent. It might be Planned Parenthood. Often they change their name for these purposes. And it's an outside agency that is unaccountable. And yet the school board didn't know that when they authorized it. If people are educated about what these clinics really do, and that it allows a third party to come in and interfere in the parent-child relationship, and to teach kids things that would be very, very inappropriate when publicly discussed. If that's going on and not even the school principal can intervene, what's happened to our schools? I got to tell you, you don't have to be a pro-life school board member to realize you have a fiduciary responsibility for those kids. And if parents are watching, if you let them know we're watching, they're prepared when Planned Parenthood comes. That's what we help people do. We want you in your local community, when people are deciding to run, and that's happening in California and across the nation for these primaries right now. People have proclaimed, yes, I want to run for the Sacramento School Board. I want to run in the Paso Robles Unified School District. I want to serve on that school board. If you know who they are, and we show you how. We show you how to find out who's running, and we have the questionnaires to send them, and most importantly, we have the tools to prepare them for your questionnaires. Now, it's very common for people running for school board, if they hear from a local pro-life group, the tendency is to say, well, that's not an issue for us. The Supreme Court's going to resolve that. If you've been around this movement at all, you realize when the Supreme Court does overturn Roe v. Wade, it's not going to settle the issue. Many states will not have protective laws. And in particular, at the local level, Planned Parenthood has been sneaking into schools for a long time. We're going to talk about more of that when we come back.
Life Matters continues after this.
California Pro-Life is looking for folks like you to help us bring common sense back to our state. Would you like to volunteer? For example, do you like social media? You could help. Or do you like to put on parties? You might have the skills to help us with one of our local events. Would you like to just encourage local pro-lifers with insights and information? Join one of our chapters. There's a lot to do in this state, and your help can make a difference right where you are. Go to California Pro-Life and sign up.
And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters. I'll read you the letter that local volunteers send along with the school board questionnaire. Dear candidate's name, I'm a volunteer for the California Pro-Life Council, the state affiliate of the National Right to Life Committee. I understand you're running for school board. Thank you. Public service is an honorable endeavor, and you're to be commended for showing an interest in improving our community. The pro-life issue comes up for school boards in the following areas: sex education classes that teach the promotion of abortion as just another form of birth control, counseling of students to obtain an abortion without notifying parents, school-based clinics run by Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, bringing in outside speakers with a pro-abortion bias, and a curriculum that fails to support the sanctity of individual human life and reject euthanasia and assisted suicide. So a lot of things are being taught in schools that you don't realize directly impinge on the question of the right to life. I already described to you what happens in these clinics once they're set up on campus, but they often start off by having speakers come. This letter continues, by the way. I've attached a questionnaire which we use to determine a candidate's position on these and other important issues related to the right to life, so the information can be disseminated to pro-life voters. We may also use it to endorse a particular candidate for office. Please complete the questionnaire and email back to blah, blah, blah. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. So that's a cover letter that accompanies the questionnaire. Very often these folks, when they run for office, boy, they don't want to touch the hot issues. But the fact is that there needs to be an understanding of why these issues are considered hot issues. What are the real issues here? You'll note we don't say anything about particular religion or particular faith. We talk about objective facts, just the objective facts. Very, very important. Now, I have to tell you, I know many faiths. My faith agrees with the fact that you shouldn't kill a vulnerable human being. But we don't present this as a religious issue. It's an issue of policy, public policy, and we have to examine it as such. So this is an opportunity. Again, what happens every year, it'll probably happen again this year. We get phone calls. Who should I vote for? Well, I can tell you on the state and federal level, but it's really the local elections that are going to make a difference in your community. And we care about them because it's the local communities that if they're local pro-life communities, that's how you get a pro-life state. If there are local pro-lifers that don't care enough to find out, that community basically is resigned and handed over to the agenda of those who want to get a hold of your kids. That's Planned Parenthood and company. And now the teachers' unions that are dedicated to unlimited abortion and to inculcating a pro-death mentality into your kids. So if you walk away from this locally, you're walking away from the real fight. So I want to remind you, again, in California, go to CaliforniaProlife.org. That's California Pro-Life, all spelled out, no hyphens. CaliforniaProlife.org, and look at elections. And there you'll see a drop down, and it's how to help in your local elections. Don't wait till June, because in the first week of June, that's only when they tally the votes. Voting begins the first week of May, and you have to know where candidates stand well before that. Candidates have already declared that they would like to run for office. We want to help you in your community find out who they are. Now, I focused on school boards, and I hope you recognize how important the schools are. But your city councils are critically important. Here in Sacramento, a reporter called me several years ago. He had discovered a slush fund that the city council had. It was undiscussed and unreported to that time. But it turns out that every city council member and the mayor had their own funds they could spend in their city council district. The mayor could spend it anywhere in the city to give to a favored nonprofit. And that's very common, by the way. They distribute city funds to groups that they think are worthy, social groups. But in point of fact, he said there's only one organization that every city council member gave to in each of their districts, and the mayor. Well, who is that? It was Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood knows that city councils have money to hand out in their town, and city councils naively give money to this organization which is out to undercut the values of your community. If you're not ready and prepared for that, they're going to win. They are going to win. And you can't wait until Election Day to find out. So I want to encourage you, go to CaliforniaProlife.org, go to elections, and there's a tab. Yeah, I'd like to volunteer in my county. So you can click on that, and we'll put you in touch with the folks in your county chapter, your county volunteers who are focusing on their county. In every county of California's 58 counties, every county has got towns and cities and hamlets, various districts where people are running for office. If you talk to them now, if you send them questionnaires now, and by the way, I've had people tell me this. They got a questionnaire. They never returned it. They didn't like returning it. They told me later, I'm so glad you informed me of what was coming. I'm so glad you told me that Planned Parenthood wanted to get in. And they stopped them. They never filled out the questionnaire. but they were educated because local pro-lifers in that town, so wherever you live in California, if you live in Redding, in Red Bluff, if you live in Chino or Chico, if you live in El Dorado Hills, or if you live in San Diego, wherever you are, just sending out these questionnaires has great power in changing and altering your local community for life. But you've got to do it. You have to care enough. You have got to take the effort. It's not hard. We'll show you how. But take the effort to find out who's running before they get elected. Once they get elected, just like all public offices, it's very hard to change them if they've already made a commitment to your opponents. You see that on the national level. You see that on the political party level. In California and in many states, local offices are nonpartisan. So you don't know if they're Democrats or Republicans. You don't know a whole lot about their background. You have to make that extra effort. We'll give you the tools to do that. Again, go to californiaprolife.org and you'll see the drop down on the masthead for elections. Find out what's going on in your community locally. Work with your local pro-lifers on doing this. And in any state in the nation, go to nrlc.org and go to your state affiliate, because your state affiliate is doing the same thing, caring about these elections. Elections matter. That's where the law has changed. Lobbying someone after they're elected is very hard if they haven't been given some kind of background to understand. The media is not on your side. They're educating the public in the opposite direction. They are supporting a culture of death. If you aren't making at least a little effort, don't just watch. Don't just watch the media. Don't just watch the pro-life movement and hear about it. You are the pro-life movement. You are the one that will change things, particularly in your community. Again, give us a call if you need any help. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being part of the most important movement our nation has ever seen. We're going to have a shot at changing things, even in California. Roe will be overturned, but then it's up to us.
Learn more about everything in today's show online at lifematters.life, where you'll find all the resources you need to protect life. Life Matters is a production of the California Pro-Life Council, the state affiliate of National Right to Life. Wherever you are in the nation, you can find out more at National Right to Life. You can find vital pro-life information and also find the access to your state and local Right to Life affiliate. Get informed and get involved.